First story. I married my best friend's husband. Went from being a godmother to a stepmother to her kids, abused them. And then told my older stepdaughter to give up her room, move out, and downgrade from private to public school for my newborn baby. She sulked, but I kicked her out anyway. Now my life is miserable, while my entitled stepkids are having a blast with their lives. I hate it. I 35F married my husband Eric 38M just 3 months ago. We've been together for 4 years, and I'm currently 7 months pregnant with our first child together. It's a girl, and we've decided to name her after Eric's late grandmother. He has 4 kids from his previous relationship: Jasmine 17F, Noah 16M, Lucas 13M, and Brielle 5F. We live in a 4-bedroom apartment in New York, which already stretches things. Brielle and Jasmine each have their own rooms. The boys, Noah and Lucas, share the third. Eric and I have the master. That leaves no extra room for the baby. So the decision seemed obvious. Jasmine is turning 18 in a few months, starting college in the fall, and was already supposed to move back in with her mom, Tina, before the baby arrives. But now she's fighting it, and the situation's blown up. Here's what's complicated. Tina and I used to be friends. Back when they were married. Jasmine was actually my goddaughter. I distanced myself when feelings started to develop between me and Eric. It wasn't romantic or physical at the time, but the lines were blurred. Tina accused Eric of cheating and left him. A year later, after the dust settled, Eric and I reconnected, and it naturally turned romantic. Jasmine has never forgiven me. From day one, she's been cold and passive-aggressive, accusing me of destroying her family. She's told me I'm not her real parent every time I step in, and I do, because I believe if I'm in the house raising them, I get to hold them accountable. I don't let disrespect slide. That's where a lot of tension started. Jasmine once left her curfew 3 hours late. I grounded her for 2 weeks. Noah called me a control freak and said I was punishing them like a prison warden. Another time, I told them to clean up the living room before friends came over. They ignored me, so I canceled their plans. When I caught them using my pregnancy pillow to wrestle with the dog, I snapped and made them both do house chores for the entire weekend. They always go to Eric afterwards, complaining that I'm being extra or crazy. Eric tries to back me up, but it's always a mess. He's firm in front of them, but I can tell he's uncomfortable when they push back. Noah, especially, has gotten worse. He idolizes Jasmine. They're only 10 months apart, basically best friends. He parrots her resentment towards me. He'll say things like, "You're not our parent. Stop acting like it. My mom said you were never family. You think just because you got pregnant you own this house?" Lucas stays out of it. He gets along with Brielle and just wants quiet. Anyway, months ago, Eric and I sat Jasmine down and said we'd need the room for the baby. She didn't love it, but she didn't argue. We agreed she'd go live with Tina full-time for the second half of her senior year. She'd been accepted early to a good college, and her grades were already solid. Her mom lives near her school. It would mean switching to public, but her diploma would be fine either way. At the time, she said, "Whatever," and walked off. We assumed it was settled. Until last week. Jasmine now says she's not leaving. She claims the move would disrupt her life too much. She wants to stay with us until graduation, and she wants us to figure something else out for the baby. I told her, "The baby needs a room. There are no other options. You agreed to this already." She says she was pressured and that we manipulated her when she was overwhelmed. Tina is trying to stay out of it, but told Eric she'd take Jasmine in if needed. But Jasmine is now completely refusing to leave, saying we're prioritizing a baby who isn't even born yet over a daughter who was here first. Noah's now fully involved, calling it a betrayal, telling Brielle that I'll get rid of her too once she gets older. Eric tried to shut that down, but the resentment just keeps building. I told Jasmine again that we can't have a newborn sleeping in the living room or in our room long term. The plan was always to give the baby her room. It's closest to ours and the quietest part of the apartment. But every time we bring it up now, Jasmine slams doors, storms off, or gives me this cold, dead-eyed look like I'm something she scraped off her shoe. Eric is still backing me, but even he's starting to crack under the stress. He told Jasmine she had until the end of the month to move. That's when things got really ugly. She said, "You're letting her kick me out. You care more about her baby than your real kids. You're disgusting. Both of you." Noah defended her again, saying this is why they'll never accept me. Now I'm starting to wonder if there's any way to get through this peacefully. But I also refuse to let my baby come into a hostel cramped home with nowhere to sleep. All because a teenager won't honor an agreement she made months ago. Jasmine stopped acknowledging me completely. She'd walk into the kitchen, grab food, and leave without a word. If I spoke, she'd stare past me. Noah followed her lead. Lucas avoided common areas unless Brielle was around. Brielle started asking why Jasmine doesn't like the baby. I sat Eric down that night and told him this couldn't keep dragging on. I'm 7 months pregnant. I'm not sleeping well. My blood pressure has already been flagged once by my OB. I told him plainly. This situation is affecting my health and the baby's. He agreed, but he also admitted he felt guilty. Jasmine is his oldest. He hates the idea that she sees this as abandonment. I told him guilt doesn't change square footage. A few days later, I overheard Jasmine on the phone with Tina. She wasn't whispering. She said I was obsessed with control, that I waited years to push her out, and that I finally got what I wanted once I trapped her dad with a baby. That last part made my hand shake. I didn't confront her immediately because I knew if I did, it would explode. Instead, I addressed behavior. When Jasmine left dishes piled in the sink after being asked twice to clean them, I took her phone for the evening. She screamed that I had no right. Noah backed her up, saying I was power tripping. I told them both that rules don't disappear because feelings are hurt. Eric supported the consequence. That only escalated things. The next incident was worse. Noah brought friends over without asking. They were loud, sprawled across the living room, shoes on the couch. Brielle was trying to nap. I told them to leave. Noah argued. I didn't budge. When they finally left, Noah called me a effing tyrant and said I'd be alone once the baby grows up and hates you too. Eric grounded him for 2 weeks. Jasmine accused Eric of choosing me over them. She said she'd remember this forever. At this point, I stopped trying to be warm. I switched to strict and transactional. Expectations, consequences. No emotional labor. No tiptoeing. Then came the school issue. Jasmine brought home paperwork from her private school and slammed it on the table. She said switching schools mid-year would look bad, and that public school credits might not transfer. I reviewed the documents myself. Her guidance counselor had already confirmed her credits would transfer. Graduation requirements would be met. College placement was unaffected. This wasn't about academics. It was about control. I told her that. She laughed in my face and said, "You don't get to decide my future." I replied, "I get to decide how this household functions." She told me I was heartless. I told her I was practical. Eric later asked me if I could soften my tone. I said no. Every time I softened, they pushed harder. This wasn't about kindness anymore. It was about enforcing a decision already made. We gave Jasmine 2 clear options. Move to Tina's by the end of the month as planned. Stay temporarily, but move into a shared space and give the baby the room. She rejected both. She said she'd stay in her room and we could figure it out. She suggested the baby sleep in our room indefinitely. I shut that down immediately. Newborns don't live in master bedrooms forever. That wasn't realistic, and it wasn't safe long term. The final blow came a week later. I came home from a prenatal appointment to find Jasmine's room locked. Music blasting. Boxes stacked inside. I knocked. She ignored me. Eric came home and demanded she open the door. She said she was claiming her space, and that we couldn't legally force her out because she was a minor. That's when Eric snapped. He told her that legally, she has another custodial parent, that Tina was expecting her, and that refusing to cooperate would lead to him packing the room himself. He told her he loved her, but this behavior was unacceptable. Jasmine cried. She accused him of replacing her. She accused me of brainwashing him. She told him he'd regret this when she cut him off. Noah stood in the hallway, glaring at both of us. That night, Jasmine texted Tina. Tina showed up the next morning. I stayed in the bedroom. I didn't want a confrontation. I could still hear everything. Tina told Jasmine she'd be coming with her. Jasmine argued. Tina told her the move had always been part of the plan. Jasmine accused her of choosing Eric over her. Tina told her to pack. That surprised me. Jasmine left crying. Noah refused to hug her. He blamed me out loud. Tina didn't engage with me at all. She didn't thank me. She didn't insult me. She just took her daughter and left. The house was quiet afterwards. Uncomfortably quiet. Noah didn't speak to me for days. Lucas asked if Jasmine hated him now. Brielle asked when her sister was coming back. Eric looked exhausted. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt relieved. The nursery was set up 2 weeks later. Crib, dresser, chair. I cried when I saw it finished. Not out of guilt, out of release. Jasmine hasn't come back since. She texts Eric occasionally. Short replies. No warmth. Noah still resents me. He complies. But the anger is there. Eric is trying to rebuild with them individually. I'm focusing on my pregnancy and keeping the household functional. I know I'm strict. I know I react strongly. I don't believe in letting disrespect slide because someone is hurting. I don't believe a baby should come second to a teenager refusing to adapt. I don't believe marriage means sidelining your partner to keep the peace. This wasn't about kicking Jasmine out for fun. It was about space, planning, and follow through. So Reddit, Ada. Comments. Comment 1. Putting the baby in your own damn room for a few months wouldn't kill you. But kicking a kid out mid-senior year might screw up her entire graduation. Jesus. YT 10 times over. You're the ex-friend who crossed a line with Eric while his marriage was falling apart. Maybe you didn't sleep together, but if you fell in love while Tina was still around, that was cheating in every way that matters to kids watching their parents implode. Jasmine has every reason to resent you. And instead of earning trust back, you came in with rules and punishments like you're the damn warden. You talk about discipline, but all I see is control. Grounding, confiscating phones, punishing for tone? You're not her parent. You're the reason her family blew up, and now you're evicting her for your new baby. Yeah, nah, you are 100% the villain in this story. I feel awful for those kids. Their dad checked out, their mom got betrayed, and now they're stuck in a house where they're told to suck it up or get out. You and Eric honestly don't deserve their forgiveness. Comment 2. YTA, and not just for kicking Jasmine out, but for everything leading up to it. You say you and Eric fell in love before the marriage ended. That's an emotional affair. It doesn't matter if it wasn't physical. You think teenagers don't pick up on that SHT? Of course Jasmine hates you. She saw her mum spiral while her godmother got cozy with her dad. And now you're playing house with the guy like it's all sunshine and pastel nurseries. Gross. A baby doesn't need its own room the second it's born. You could have kept her in your room until Jasmine graduated. You wanted to push her out, and you did. Don't act like this was just logistics. Also, you need to stop acting like these kids are yours. You're not their mother. You're their stepmother with a messy history. You can't play the "I'm the parent" card when it's convenient, then fall back on "I'm not their real mom" when they fight back. Either commit or back off. Right now you just look like a power-tripping homewrecker who wanted the last word. Comment 3. No arseholes here, none is enough, but this situation is absolutely F-ed from top to bottom. Jasmine has never gotten closure on what happened between you and Tina, and probably never will. She's 17, and from her POV, her godmother is now married to her dad, kicking her out of her room and disciplining her like she's in boot camp. Of course she's spiraling. Hell, I'd be pissed too. But also you're pregnant. You're trying to stabilize your home, and you're dealing with teenagers who are emotionally weaponized and loyal to their mom's side of the divorce. Eric should have been handling more of this instead of letting you take all the heat. Dude's hiding behind your backbone while you absorb all the emotional damage. That's a fail on his part. The truth is, no one was going to walk away happy here. You needed the room. She needed stability. You clashed. Everyone's hurting. But you're not a monster for choosing the baby. Just don't pretend this was handled perfectly. Because it wasn't. Update. After Jasmine moved back to her mom's, I thought things would calm down. I was wrong. What actually happened was the beginning of an all-out war. The first thing that changed was the atmosphere in the house. Noah, Lucas, and even Brielle stopped interacting with me unless absolutely necessary. I don't mean arguments, I mean silence. No responses. If I asked a question, I got shrugs or blank stares. Noah would deliberately walk out of rooms when I entered. Lucas stopped eating dinner with us. Brielle started clinging to Eric and crying if I tried to help her with anything. It felt coordinated. I tried to enforce basic rules: chores, bedtime, noise levels, and every single time, it turned into resistance. Noah told me, "You can ground me all you want, I don't care." When I took his phone, he laughed and said, "Good luck keeping it." Eric backed me up. But it didn't matter. The kids didn't respect the authority anymore. They treated consequences like background noise. Things escalated fast. One morning, I woke up to find bags packed in the hallway, all 3 kids. Noah told Eric they were going to their mums, and that they were done living under my dictatorship. Lucas wouldn't look at either of us. Brielle was crying but said she wanted to go with her siblings. Eric tried to stop them. Noah told him that if he forced them to stay, they'd tell their school counselor and anyone else who'd listen that the house was unsafe. That same day, I had a pregnancy complication. I collapsed in the bathroom with severe abdominal pain and dizziness. Eric called an ambulance. I was taken to the hospital and monitored overnight. It wasn't a miscarriage, but it was serious enough that my OB warned me stress was becoming dangerous. The kids did not believe it was real. Noah outright said I faked it to stop them from leaving. Lucas echoed him. Even Brielle parroted that, "You were pretending." I've never felt that kind of disbelief from children I was helping raise. Tina allowed Jasmine to come back temporarily to help with Brielle and the baby once she arrived. Jasmine agreed not because of me, but because, in her words, the baby didn't ask for any of this. Jasmine helped with feedings, diaper changes, night shifts. She was competent, calm, and completely cold towards me. She barely spoke unless necessary. Still, I won't lie, I relied on her. I needed the support. I was exhausted, physically wrecked, and emotionally numb. After the birth, I tried to propose what I thought was a reasonable reset. I suggested that Noah move full-time to his mom's, since he was clearly miserable here, and that Jasmine take his room temporarily. The baby could then move into Noah's old room once I recovered. Eric agreed. He said he just wanted peace and stability. That suggestion detonated everything again. Jasmine immediately withdrew her help. She said I was reshuffling kids like furniture. Noah accused me of trying to isolate him. Lucas packed his things again. Brielle cried nonstop. Within 2 days, all 3 kids left the house again. Eric tried to stop them. They walked out anyway. At that point, Eric and I talked about legal options, not to drag them back kicking and screaming. We were terrified of losing all contact. When Tina heard this, she forced the kids back furious, defensive, and louder than ever. Noah came back hostile. He told Eric he was only there to protect his siblings because I was dangerous. He actually said I was going to hurt them. He followed me around the apartment, watching everything I did. If I raised my voice even slightly, he'd pull Lucas or Brielle out of the room. I started having panic attacks. I tried to talk to Jasmine privately. I told her again that my relationship with Eric wasn't an affair. That feeling alone didn't equal cheating. That she didn't have to like me, but she didn't need to destroy the family. I told her I would support her relationships, her independence, and her future. I asked her to help her siblings adjust, especially Brielle. She said she was only there for the baby because the baby was innocent. She said once I recovered, she'd be done. That she and her siblings were planning to leave permanently. That I should prepare for that. She said I was never going to be their family, and that trying to force it was harming everyone. I'm ashamed to admit how scared I felt hearing that. Around the same time, Noah manipulated a phone call with Tina, deliberately escalating things until she yelled at me over speakerphone. She accused me of lying about my health, abusing my authority, mentally damaging her kids, and trying to erase her role as their mother. Then she demanded custody. She filed for custody of Brielle and the remaining kids. She also filed a report alleging emotional abuse. CPS got involved. While the case was pending, Jasmine left again. Then Lucas. Then Brielle. I was alone with a newborn and a house that felt like a crime scene after everyone evacuated. The case is ongoing. No rulings yet. I'm recovering physically, but mentally I'm not okay. No one asks how I'm healing. No one asks about the baby. Every conversation is about what I did wrong, what I caused, what I deserve. I still believe I wasn't wrong to need space for my child. I still believe discipline isn't abuse. But I'm starting to realize that something fundamental broke here, and I don't know if it can be fixed. I feel abandoned. I feel blame. I feel like everyone decided I'm the homewrecker and ran with it. I don't know what happens next. I just know that right now, I'm sitting in a quiet apartment with my newborn, wondering how everything collapsed this completely, and whether anyone actually cares about my recovery, my baby, or my side of this at all. Comments. Comment 1. There's a particular flavor of narcissism in this post that's hard to ignore. You keep saying no one cares about your recovery or your side. But OP, what side? You pushed every kid out, steamrolled over their pain, then acted betrayed when they refused to keep sacrificing themselves for your comfort. Noah following you around was dramatic, sure. But think about why a 16-year-old feels like he needs to protect his siblings from an adult. That's not some manipulative ploy. That's a survival instinct. And Eric? Spineless. Useless. The kind of dad who lets his wife become the bad guy just so he doesn't have to set boundaries himself. You're both complicit in turning this house into a battleground. Jasmine gave you more grace than you deserved. She came back. She helped. She gave you a soft landing during the hardest part of recovery. And you still treated her like a pawn in your never-ending power game. You need therapy. And I don't mean that as an insult. I mean it as someone who thinks you're drowning in a self-made mess and don't even realize you're still swinging at ghosts. Comment 2. You weren't a stepmom. You weren't even a decent godmother. You used Jasmine like a free postpartum nurse, then turned around and offered up her brother's room like you were trading rooms on a game board. No one in your post sounds like a person just rolls you a sign based on how useful they are to you. Jasmine helps with the baby. Keep her. Noah disagrees with you? Kick him out. Lucas stays quiet. Ignore him. Brielle still hugs you. Praise her. You say, they waged war on me, but from where I'm sitting, it looks like survival. You walked into their lives carrying resentment from being the godmother that crossed a line, and let's stop pretending you didn't cheat. You had feelings for their dad while he was married to your friend, and then you married him. You detonated their family and tried to install yourself as head of the new one. And now you're shocked they don't want to carry your emotional recovery for you. That they don't cry for your pain while watching you bulldoze through theirs. You were given a place in Jasmine's life twice, first as her godmother, then as her stepmother, and you blew both. Comment 3. You treated those kids like they were chess pieces. Jasmine helped, so you tried to keep her close. Noah resisted, so you were fine throwing him away. Not once did you talk about loving them, just managing them, punishing them, moving them like furniture. You're shocked they left? I'm shocked it took them this long. You say no one cares about your recovery. That's awful. I'm sorry you're going through a hard time physically. But you know what? A lot of people recover from C-sections or difficult births without actively alienating every child in the house. You had people. You had help. And instead of building relationships, you played favorites and cracked the whip. You never saw Jasmine as your stepdaughter. You didn't even try. You saw her as the girl who hates me because of my relationship. Maybe she does hate you. Maybe that's earned. She watched you go from godmother to stepmom by getting with her dad while her mom was unraveling. And then you expected her to feed your baby, shut up, and be grateful. I hope those kids never come back, because they don't have to stay in places where they're only welcome when they're convenient. Update. This will be my last post. I don't have anything left to defend, explain, or fight for anymore. After everything I've been through, I'm done. CPS wrapped up their investigation. They didn't find any criminal abuse. But their written report included terms like emotional overregulation, breakdown in family trust, inappropriate disciplinary control, and hostile dynamic between step-parent and minors. Translation. I didn't hit anyone, but they're saying I'm the problem. Tina, of course, jumped on it like a dog with a stake. She took it straight to court. Filed to restrict contact again. Eric didn't fight it. He kept saying he was processing everything and didn't want to make things worse. That was his entire role in this family. Watch me get torn apart and tell me to calm down while it happens. The CPS report was the beginning of the end. But it wasn't the worst part. The worst part was Noah's testimony. He was allowed to give a statement during the custody hearings. I wasn't allowed in the room when he did. I read the transcript after. He called me manipulative. Said I used punishments to isolate them. That I used Jasmine's kindness against her and treated them like problems I had to control. He said he never felt safe here. That I'd explode over anything. That I tried to erase their mother. I knew then it was over. Then came the silence from Jasmine. She stopped responding to texts. Blocked Eric. Refused to pick up when Brielle called. We found out she changed her emergency contact to Tina, changed her graduation guest list, and changed her college info to cut us out completely. Eric's parents turned too. They'd been neutral this whole time, but after CPS finished, they called him and said, "We support you, but we can't be part of the situation if she's still involved." Eric went to dinner with them the next week. Alone. Came back and told me, maybe it's best if we give them space. His solution to everything was, give it space. That's what he said when the kids left. When Jasmine stopped helping. When I sat on the floor crying because I hadn't slept in 3 days with a newborn screaming in my arms. He gave me space. I was also diagnosed with postpartum depression 2 weeks ago. The doctor said my OB should have caught it earlier. Too late now. The damage was done. And the second that diagnosis was official, Tina included it in the custody argument. unstable home environment, documented mental health concerns. The same people who ignored me when I said I wasn't okay are now using my diagnosis to prove I'm unfit. Eric said it wasn't personal. That Tina was just doing what she thinks is best for the kids. That was it for me. I told him to get out. I told him to leave. He said maybe he should stay somewhere else, for now, to smooth things over. He packed a bag, kissed the baby, left like it was nothing, like I was nothing. He left me and his daughter behind in the house I built around his family. He was gone for 4 days. Not once did he check in to see if I needed help. When he came back, I was already gone. I packed everything. Formula, diapers, my files, my name off the lease, everything. I left a note. It said, "You know how to create kids, but you've never once learned how to parent one. You stood by while they abused me, gaslit me, lied about me, and manipulated every decision. You were supposed to be my partner. You ended up being another body in the house, expecting me to carry the load alone. I filed for divorce yesterday. I am done being treated like I'm disposable, like I'm the hired help, like I owe anyone anything after the hell I was dragged through. Those kids were ungrateful, spoiled, performative little brats who formed a monkey team and came after me like a pack. Not one of them ever saw me as a person, let alone a parent. I hope the long-term impact of the chaos they created keeps them up at night someday. And to everyone on Reddit who piled on me in my last post, congratulations. You believed every fake, protective sibling narrative and ignored the years of abuse I dealt with. You turned a blind eye to my side. You told me I deserved it because I fell in love with a man whose marriage was already broken. You called me a monster for needing space for a newborn in a 4-bedroom apartment. You were wrong. You cheered for a broken family dynamic to implode, and it did. But I'm the only one left to pick up the pieces. Now I'm focused on rebuilding. It'll be just me and my daughter. No screaming teens. No ghost husband. No judgmental in-laws. No past lives hanging around pretending to love me while plotting my downfall. Just peace. It hurts. I won't lie and say it doesn't. But I am not going to spend another second begging to be treated with respect in a house that never had any for me to begin with. This was my line, and I'm walking away with my head high. I have nothing left to say. Comments. Comment 1. Alright, I'll say what you don't want to hear. You didn't deserve the level of disrespect and chaos you got from those kids. But you absolutely poured gasoline on the fire. You weren't blending a family, you were managing it like a corporate merger. Strict rules, zero emotional connection, and treating Jasmine like a nanny you didn't want to pay. That kid helped you with your newborn. Stepped up in a house she already felt displaced in. And your thanks. Offering up her brother's room so she could stay useful. You called Noah disposable the second he had an opinion. That's where you lost them all. You viewed them as liabilities, not people. Eric. Effing useless. Spineless, avoidant, emotionally absent. He tossed you to the wolves and hoped it'd sort itself out. But you stuck around too long, thinking that being right would fix what never had a foundation. I don't think you're evil. I think you're emotionally exhausted, have never been given space to be vulnerable, and have lashed out trying to survive. But yeah, you wrecked it. And they did too. No one walks away clean here. Comment 2. You know what? Good. You finally left. This whole saga was painful to read, not because you were so wrong, but because you stayed for so long in a house where no one wanted you. Let's get real, you were the godmother who crossed a line and became the stepmom. The odds were stacked against you from day one. The second you tried to assert authority instead of build trust, those kids locked arms and never looked back. You tried to parent like a surgeon, not a stepmom. Bad move. But the real RC hole here is Eric. That man watched every person in his household fall apart and still managed to do nothing. He let you take every hit, every accusation, every sleepless night. Then he had the audacity to walk out for space while his baby cried in your arms. Nah, F that guy. Filing for divorce was the best thing you've done since this all started. Don't waste one more ounce of energy trying to justify yourself. Raise your baby. Heal. Stay the hell away from broken families led by broken men. Comment 3. Your mistake wasn't kicking Jasmine out, or grounding Noah, or even how you handled discipline. Your mistake was picking a man who didn't have the balls to actually parent his kids or protect you when they turned on you. Eric was the coward behind the curtain. He let you be the bad guy, then abandoned you when the consequences showed up. Space my arse, he chose the path of least resistance every single time. And the kids. Yeah, they were manipulative, ungrateful, at times downright cruel. But you underestimated the long-term damage of being seen as the replacement instead of the addition. They weren't ready for you, and you weren't ready to meet them where they were. You didn't deserve to be their emotional punching bag. But let's not act like you didn't take swings of your own. You treated parenting like a power struggle. They responded in kind. Good on you for leaving. That man-child didn't deserve a second of your labor. Just do better next time. For your daughter's sake. Pick someone who knows how to love and lead, not just breed. Second story. My siblings abandoned me after our parents died, used me for babysitting and receiving gifts, and never showed respect or love. Now I found out my brother never got married. No one told me, and the whole family covered it up. Just 2 days after their fake reconciliation, I went and treated myself to a good therapist as my Christmas gift. I have a large family that started falling apart when my parents passed away 11 years ago. I was 19, and my siblings were all much older. Since then, my siblings and I have had rocky/strained relationships due to various reasons, and I slowly became the outcast of the family. With my brother specifically, things changed when he started dating his now wife, and they had a son. He was the first baby in our family, and I love babies, so I wanted to be there to help. Things quickly went downhill when they would ask me to babysit for a couple of hours that turned into 12+ hours, or a day would turn into a weekend. This happened several times, so I talked to my brother about how I felt about them doing this and how it felt like they were taking advantage. This turned into them telling our family that I thought that the baby was a problem and I didn't want anything to do with him anymore. I talked to the rest of my siblings to clear this up, but this changed my relationship with my brother and his family. There were also other situations after this that caused even more of a rift between my brother and me. Since then, I have only interacted with my brother and his family at gatherings. From my end, I forgave and still bought them gifts for their birthdays, Christmas, etc. But I never received anything from him. Not a text, a phone call, anything. Fast forward to 3 years later, Thanksgiving Day. My whole family was there, including my brother and his family. Everything seemed normal. I will mention that my relationships with my other siblings had improved a lot over the years and were better. We all had a small conversation about the food and discussed Secret Santa participation for Christmas. That was Thursday. On Saturday, I see pictures on social media of what appears to be my family at a wedding, and my brother appears to be the groom. Confused, I take a screenshot and send it to my sisters to ask if our brother had a wedding. They confirm. My brother and I don't have a good relationship, but I didn't think it was so bad that he wouldn't invite me to his wedding. And my relationships with my other siblings have gotten better, so I thought that someone would have mentioned that our brother was getting married, especially when we were all together just a couple of days prior. Apparently, they were all in on this big secret for months without me, and that hurt. It made me feel like even more of an outcast in my own family than ever before. This isn't the first time that my family has done something like this. It's been a slew of issues and situations over the past decade, and this was the cherry on top for me. My sisters have reached out to try to explain and apologize. I haven't heard anything from my brothers, so Ada for finally cutting off my siblings. Comments. Comment 1. NTA. You put your foot down at being his unpaid nanny, so he tried to ruin your relationship with the rest of the family. You forgive and still make an effort to send gifts while he ignores you, and then the whole family hides his wedding from you, knowing you will find out after on social media and feel betrayed. Screw all of them. Comment 2. NTA. I'm so very sorry this happened to you. OP, please take this as a lesson. Stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. You forgave your brother, but that doesn't mean he in his ridiculous mind forgave you for your alleged crime of putting your foot down over the reasonable request to not offload their kid onto you for longer than agreed upon times. Yes, you are a family, but you also have a life and are not a nanny being paid overtime. 1. A. They took advantage and made you the villain for setting good and reasonable boundaries. 1. B. They then tried to damage your reputation and relationship with the rest of your family by portraying you as this villain. 2. They never reciprocated your olive branches or showed any attempts to be cordial, not besties, but just cordial by getting you gifts even though you got them gifts. This should have already been a sign to you that there was no civility or relationship you were going to have with them, and you should have stopped. They showed you who they are then, and they have done so for a final time in a massive way. Please believe them this time and stop trying. 3. As for the rest of your family, what they did was a huge betrayal. Did they honestly think you weren't going to find out about it? To sit there at Thanksgiving and let you be the fool who was none the wiser that there was something they all knew that you didn't, that they just weren't talking about, is so cruel. Weddings are chaotic, and these folks deserve Oscars for the performances they put on to keep you in the dark for months, and especially that night, so close to the wedding. That is messed up. The deception. Wow. Sure, your sisters apologized. But again, they and the rest of your family have shown you who they are. So please, OP, please believe them. Cut them off and go non-contact with a guilt-free conscience. NTA. Delete them off social media. They don't get to monitor you and have access to you to see what you are up to when they lied to you for months and about a pretty major event. They don't get access to know what you are up to in your life anymore. Block them on social media. These people don't get birthday messages, happy holidays, happy new year. Nada. Silence on your end. Stop being nice and trying. Just stop. You'll only make a fool of yourself and end up hurt. Cut them off and move on with your life. If you can, find a good therapist and do individual counseling. Remember, finding a good therapist is like dating. Just because one doesn't work well with you doesn't mean all therapy is SHT. Just keep looking until you find the right match. It'll help you process and heal from this betrayal. Go live your life with people who would not deceive you in this way. Rooting for you. Update. Hi, all. Thanks for the advice and thoughts. You're all right. I should have stopped this a long time ago. Being Latina, family is extremely important in our culture. And if you try to distance yourself from their toxicity, you're made to feel guilty like ta. Not just in this situation, but so many others that have happened throughout the years. And for those wondering, our ages range 25 years from the oldest sibling to the youngest. I'm the second youngest, and our youngest sibling, Sister L, was also not invited or told about this. Basically, all of our issues with our older siblings are related to the age gaps and different ways of thinking / views / opinions. I do believe that the rest of my siblings were told not to mention anything, so agree that they were in a tough position. But like I said, we were all in a good place lately, so all of this just caught me completely by surprise. TBH, if he or one of my siblings had given me a heads up that he was having a wedding just so I wouldn't be blindsided, I'd still appreciate the honesty. Sure, I'd still be hurt, but it's his day and it's his choice, which I would have respected because I'm not one for drama / attention. I was mostly hurt about finding out afterwards on social media and knowing that they were all in on it. Especially after just spending time together a couple of days before and thinking everything was fine. As of today, almost 3 weeks later, I've heard nothing from any of my brothers. I did respond to my sisters and expressed my feelings. Sister A's response: I'm sorry you feel that way. I didn't respond to her after that because I knew I wouldn't get anywhere. Sister B's response actually acknowledged that it was wrong and apologized for her part in it. I accepted her apology, but I feel like I can't trust her after everything that's happened. So I've decided I'm going NC with all of them. I've blocked them all on social media and their phone numbers. I also canceled the Secret Santa event in the app that we used. Eventually, I may go LC with Sister B, but I need some time and space to be able to make a solid decision. My family has been the biggest source of my stress / anxiety over the years. I have been to therapy on and off for the past several years dealing with my issues and definitely recommend it to anyone going through something similar. An appointment to talk through this might be a great Christmas gift to myself this year. At this point, I feel like I've been through the 5 stages of grief dealing with this. I wasn't just grieving the loss of my parents, but also grieving the family that we once were when our parents were here, because they were the glue that held us together. Ultimately, this is me finally accepting what we've become. Besides my family, the past couple of years have been the happiest I've ever been. My husband's family accepted me as one of their own, and I feel like they truly care about my well-being. So I'm focusing my time / energy on them, Sister L, and the family that I'm creating with my husband. Hopefully, it'll be better than the one I was born into. Comments. Comment 1. I'm sorry you feel that way is a fake apology. NTA. Comment 2. It's infuriating because it puts the burden on the receiver, as if it's their fault for feeling that way rather than the speaker's fault for causing those feelings. I can't even imagine having the audacity to say that. It's like if you punch someone in the face and they react with, "What the hell is wrong with you? That really hurt." And you go, "I'm sorry you feel hurt," and walk away. No real acknowledgement of harm, no accountability, nothing. Comment 3. As a fellow Latina, it's wild to me that you didn't get invited, as weddings are such a big deal party. Mandalos to-dos a la chingada and live your life. Comment 4. NTA. Your brother actively orchestrated a lie of omission. And the fact that your family is now trying to guilt you for reacting to blatant disrespect shows their toxicity isn't limited to him. Cutting them off wasn't the reaction. Being cut out of their lives by secret behavior was the action they took. You have every right to protect yourself from people who think you're optional until they need social proof. Cherish the silence. Thank you for watching the video. If you are interested in listening to these kinds of stories, we've got more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.